At the age of 22, Taylor Swift has been connected already to more than 12 or 13 males in her life, like relationship, like even if it's just the newspapers blowing it out of proportion, it's still pretty extraordinary number. And there is a pattern, of course, there. And how come that within less than 4 years, someone will be connected to so many relationships? What is there? There must be an indication in the horoscope that shows that someone will have much more often changes in relationships, much more experiences to do with relationship. When I was reading this article about her, and there were 13 men mentioned in her life since the age of 17 for 4 or 5 years. And I immediately thought, that's it, the doing of the North Node in the 7th house, or North Node with Venus. And when I looked at her horoscope, it turned out that she has both. And let's see what makes her tick and what her fate is, and why astrologically, what is the pattern, so maybe you can recognize it in yourself or in people that you know or in your own children. This is what happens basically when you go and do your horoscope. When you do a Taylor Swift horoscope, it shows that she has in the 7th house of relationships. 7th house shows how you relate to others, your love relationship, your partnerships. She has there the North Node, which is in which I use this kind of chart on my website. The 7th house is indicated here in the Western type of chart. The 7th house is indicated there. So for both people, whatever chart they're using. But if you're using my website and my birth chart calculator, you'll see her chart indicated like that. So the 7th house is relationship. And if you have in the house of relationships the North Node, immediately, what is the North Node? The North Node, or as we call it, Rahu, is a demonic planet in mythology. It's something where we become obsessive. It's somewhere where we can never have enough. It's indicated as a dragon's head without a body. So it means that it takes and it never feels full. So it's insatiable. Wherever the North Node is in the horoscope of a person, it might be in their money, it might be in their friendships, it might be in their career, in their philosophical understanding, in their addictions or their relationship. As in the case of Taylor Swift, in the 7th house of relationship, a person becomes insatiable, and a person needs more and more experiences there. And why is this so? The North Node, as Rahu as we know it, shows which area of one's life you need to develop in this life, in this incarnation, because in past life it either has been neglected or it hasn't been developed properly. You haven't paid much attention on this area of your life. So Taylor Swift in previous lives was probably either more of a loner or not, or living, maybe the soldier's life, or much more focusing on herself rather than living in a partnership. So she never learned the rules of relationship properly. So in this life, planets, she needs to experience relationship, but she needs to learn how to do relationship. And just like a child which is learning to walk, you get up and fall many times before you learn to walk. So what fate or fortune or whatever does when you have the 7th, the North Node in the 7th house, is that brings you one relationship after another till you learn how to do relationships properly, till you learn the rules of the game of making relationships. And usually this indicates much more than one relationship. If you were born 200 years ago, you would be a harlot, especially if you're a woman with this position, or Don Juan. And if nowadays, it's thankfully people are not being persecuted for this, and people are not, or women in particular, are not being judged if they change their relationship. So they have more chance of developing and following what they need to develop in this life, which is relationship. But the thing is that a person till the age of 30 or 35, till the North Node matures, which North Node causes eclipses in astrology, and it's like her relationship are a bit eclipsed, and she's trying to do relationships in the dark. And when you try and do relationships in the dark, this is when you make a lot of mistakes, when you fall, when you choose the wrong people all the time, so you move from one place to another. And as I said, it's a demonic, very compulsive influence, so it makes you almost, wherever the North Node is in the horoscope, it makes you feel compulsive about that area in your life. If it's in the 2nd house, you might be compulsive with eating. 2nd house is to do with the food that we take. If it's in the 10th house, you can be compulsive about recognition and about what others think about you or your career. 7th house, you become compulsive with relationship and need more and more and more. And if there is not some awareness and growth, the person can become almost, like a farce. Who else had the 7th house, North Node in the 7th house? Well, Elizabeth Taylor. And I'm not saying that they're bad people or anything. They just have not learned how to do relationship, and they do it now by experimenting, by trying one after another, by this insatiable thirst for relationships that they have. And usually at the age of 35, for some people, it doesn't work even after 35, but usually around their mid-30s, the person has finally learned from their mistakes how to do relationships, and they can settle down. Usually if a person with the North Node in the 7th house, like Taylor Swift, settles or tries to do a relationship before the age of 30, 35, they tend to have divorces. And thankfully nowadays they don't get married so quickly. So it's like breaking up one relationship after another. And I have the same position. So I can testify for by the age of 27, I had 8 serious relationships where I lived in like a marriage relationship. So you need to learn how to do this. And also, Venus is the planet of relationships. And it's a double whammy in the case of Taylor Swift, because the house of relationships, 7th house, and Venus, the planet of relationships, is with the North Node. So Venus shows how you make choices. How much wisdom you have in your choices you make when you're in relationships, how you choose a partner. And the North Node with Venus, it shows that she's not very experienced there, and she's very compulsive, and she goes for the first thing that, maybe she gets fascinated by some quality of the person and doesn't think about the rest, about the circumstances, about how compatible they are, how wise this choice is, and she just goes there blindly and follows her instincts and her physical desires rather than putting more thought into it. So whenever you see either also a woman or a man with the North Node with Venus, these people will have, it's called the porn star combination. I'm not saying Taylor Swift there is in any way anything trashy about her, there is nothing like that, but it's this ability to make wrong decisions. Basically, it's not an ability, it's more of a curse, to make wrong decisions when it comes to your self-love, how much you love yourself, and what people you let into your life. This is what Venus is, what relationships you let in there. There isn't much wisdom, there isn't much experience, so you tend to, as I said, the eclipse makes, the North Node makes also an eclipse, so you kind of do relationships in the dark, and the eclipse is really removed from 30 years, 35 onwards, where such people can settle better into relationships. Otherwise, before that, it's always one after another insatiability and changes. Don't be hard on those people. These are the lessons they have come to learn here. This is what the North Node comes. She comes to learn lessons of relationships and love, and if she doesn't learn them, she'll keep making the same mistakes over and over. When you see people compulsively doing the same thing over and over, it's usually to do with the North Node. So if you want to find out how good are you going to be in your relationship, what are the mistakes you're going to be make, or if you are in love with someone, you want to see if this person will do relationship good, how dateable he or she is. You can check it with my astrology reports on astrolada.com, which is male or female capacity reports for relationships. Or you can talk to one of my psychics or astrologers who are there for you 24/7 to give you insight into yourself and into your future. Thank you.